it is my great pleasure to bring on from Auddia, Jeff Trauman. Am I getting the pronunciation right?
It's actually Trayman, like the H doesn't exist. Trips everybody up.
Oh man, it's your name is like a puzzle, and you solved it for me. I appreciate it so much, Mr. Trayman. So for the folks that don't know about your organization, would you mind giving a brief introduction?
Yeah, so I mean, my name's Jeff Trayman. I'm the founder and executive chairman of the company, and we're essentially a technology company that is built in artificial intelligence platform that interacts with audio, and we're looking to reinvent how people can engage with it.
That sounds incredible. I can't wait to see how you're doing it. Would you mind getting your presentation started?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I assume you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, we see like the presenter view, so we can see like the next slide and all that. So what you want to do, I think, is go to the top and go to display settings. That drop down, there should be something that says like swap. The swap.
Yep.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Okay, good. Great. Well, thanks everyone. Again, Auddia, we're looking to reinvent how consumers engage with audio. So this is our standard disclaimer. And what I'm going to do is just give you an overview of the two products that we're bringing to market. One is the Auddia app and the other is the Vodacast app. So with the Auddia app, what happens here is consumers can download this application, they can pay a subscription, and then they're able to listen to any AM, FM radio station without commercials. They can also personalize the content that they're listening to on radio for the first time. Vodacast plays in the podcast space, and we bring some unique capabilities to the podcast realm that I'll go into in detail as we get through the presentation. So first, I'm just going to go over the Auddia app by itself. Again, this allows commercial-free radio listening. So one of the big problems with radio out there is that they have essentially too many ads and they have no choice in content. And this becomes an issue as consumers have more and more options to experience audio in a premium environment where they're accustomed to not having to listen to ads and being able to choose exactly what they want to listen to when. Radio doesn't have a solution here, so we're stepping in to provide that solution. And the solution we're providing is an app called Auddia. And with this app, you're able to download the app and you can find any AM, FM radio station in the country. You can listen to it without commercials. And the way we do that is through this AI platform that we've developed that is able to identify the beginning and end of all the ad segments and then replace that with other content. Now, what's interesting here is we're able to allow kind of the high value local content that radio is known for to go through while just blocking the ads. So for instance, when the local DJs are talking about an event that might be happening, whether that's a weather event, a festival, or a concert coming into town, that comes through, as does weather or traffic. And of course, you can program it to have some or none of these be blocked. But the high value local content that really differentiates radio from any other audio platform, that content comes through. And then for the first time, you're able to personalize that. And you can do that with skips. So radio puts something in front of you that you don't like, you can skip it. And you can also request content on demand and kind of program routines like you can with a smart speaker. So if you're getting in your car every morning to commute to work, you might program it to give you a quick traffic update, maybe something about the weather, hear an update about the game last night, and then you get right into the radio station. So it's this kind of flexibility that we're bringing to the platform. So how do we stack up against the competition? I think the big thing to look at here is really that bottom row of local content. That's the big differentiator that radio has. No other audio platform out there gives people a tie back to their local community. And we believe that's a big reason why radio still has a huge audience of about 270 million listeners every month. So if you look at the first column here, this is really what I call the Me Too music players. This is Spotify, Pandora, you got Apple Music, Amazon. They're all pretty much the same. It's ad-free, and you can choose anything you want as it relates to music content, but you don't have access to any local content. SiriusXM in the next column, again, ad-free, but again, there's no content choice, and these are national stations, so no tie back to the local community. And then you have Spotify and Pandora, the free versions, pretty much like the paid versions, other than you have to endure ads on that platform. And then, of course, you have radio. And where radio stands out, as I previously mentioned, is really this local content that you have access to. So where we come in with the Auddia platform is we bring this premium listening experience to radio. We allow people to pay a subscription, consume it without ads, and to have choice in the content that they listen to. So the way the platform works is we essentially built our AI technology on top of Google's TensorFlow library. So the data that we're using to train our AI is broadcast radio. So there's tons of it, it's unlimited, and we're able to put it through the TensorFlow platform and teach it to know the difference between a song, a DJ talking, a weather report, a traffic report, and also ads. And of course, we let the good content through, and then we block the ads. So this graphic here gives you an overall view of what happens with the live broadcast, which is that top stream, and then a broadcast where Auddia is processing the stream and replacing the ads with songs. So you can immediately see that first ad break on the top live broadcast, and this depicts kind of 3 ads played in a row. And you can see on the lower section, our technology would identify the beginning of that ad break, and then it would fill in with a song or with some music. Now that music may not match up exactly to the ad break, so when you rejoin afterwards, after the ad break, you can see that you're on a time delay slightly, and then you continue to hear the broadcast. Now this kind of accordion occurs where we can make that up with different ad breaks. So you're really listening in an environment where you're trailing behind anywhere from 50 seconds to, let's say, up to 5 minutes. We filed patents on all of our technology early on, back in 2018. The first patents have already issued, and the way we do this is we file patents and then keep them open through continuation in parts. So we have the opportunity to build this big family of patents over time as we discover more and more inventions to improve the platform. But the patents cover very, very broadly the use of artificial intelligence technologies against broadcast audio to customize the experience. The market that we're going after, I mean, again, I've mentioned that radio still has significant amount of listening. It's proved to be tremendously enduring, and there's about 270 million people that still tune into broadcast radio every month. But radio makes $0 on subscription revenue there. On the other side, there's about 133 million people who have raised their hand and started subscribing to the premium services. These are the internet streaming music players that are out there, and SiriusXM, driving about $14 billion in subscription revenue. We believe we're going to be able to pull some users from the existing group of radio listeners, and we're going to be able to pull subscribers from those who are already raising their hand and paying a subscription on other platforms. So we went out and engaged the Harris polling folks to get an idea as to how many people really wanted to engage with radio in this premium environment. So Harris went out and they got 2,000 respondents to this poll, and they asked them to self-identify themselves as radio listeners or people who are already subscribing to another platform. And for those who identified as radio listeners, the product was then described, and they were asked how likely they were to purchase. And on the radio listeners, about approximately 7% said they were extremely likely to purchase. And for those who were already out there paying a subscription, about 12% were extremely likely to purchase. When you apply these to those populations, you wind up with a low-hanging fruit, a group of about 35 million consumers that are extremely likely to purchase this product. As part of that Harris poll, we did a Van Westendorp pricing analysis. And this showed that the optimal price point that consumers would pay to maximize revenue was $12 a month. So this leads into our go-to-market strategy. Radio, the way that we model our business at a $12 per month subscription, we show $10 of that going back to radio. Now, radio today makes about $3.75 a month on the ad model for every listener. So this is a little over 2x revenue to them for getting on air and kind of promoting the opportunity to listen in a premium environment to their consumers. And that's how we plan to go to market, to partner with broadcast radio groups, have them go on air, use their megaphone to tell their consumers that there is this opportunity to listen in a premium environment. So where we are right now is we just had our IPO back in February, and the purpose of the IPO is to get the funds to start launching these commercial trials. We announced 2 broadcast radio partnerships so far, one with Lakes Media and one with Sonoma Media. These groups reach about 350,000 listeners, and we're going to be starting to market this next month with Lakes Media and then Sonoma Media following shortly thereafter. Consumers are going to have the opportunity to download the app, listen for free for 30 days, and then they're going to have to convert over to subscription. So we plan on reporting on those subscription rates sometime in the July-August timeframe. So that covers the Auddia platform. I'm going to quickly go through Vodacast now. Vodacast is an app that we've built to address the podcasting space. And what we're bringing to the podcasting space is 2 new capabilities that don't currently exist. The first one is a digital content feed that correlates directly with the on-air audio. We're kind of depicting this in that first screen there, where you see some video and some images that correlate to a particular podcast. So the idea is today that when podcasters go out and research their shows, they're finding video, they're finding text, they're finding images that make the story more compelling, but they really don't have any way to present that to consumers. We've created this digital content feed that correlates with the on-air podcast that is being consumed by the consumer, to allow folks to go through this feed and interact deeper. That capability opens up the opportunity for podcasters to have access to digital revenue. Currently today, the only revenue that podcasters have access to is the audio ads that flow through. So the competition that we're up against here is pretty significant. There's a lot of music, there's a lot of players out there on the podcast space. The problem is none of them really provide the podcasters with any differentiation or the consumers with additional content. So right now, today, when a podcaster is putting their show out there, they really don't care where you listen to the podcast. It makes no difference to them. They make the same revenue regardless, and they only make that revenue from the audio ad. And we're trying to change that. So for the first time, podcasters have a reason to tell their audience to go listen on the Vodacast platform, because when they do that, the audience is going to get a better experience with the digital feed. They're going to be able to interact with all of the brand content from that podcaster, and the podcaster is simultaneously going to make more money. So the revenue opportunities that we're introducing here not only consist of the digital ads, which we have listed in the first column here, but we're also bringing this on-demand capability to pay for podcasting. In this environment, you don't necessarily need to be a subscriber to a podcast to be able to consume it without listening to the commercials. So for the first time, you'll be able to, on the Vodacast platform, decide that you want to listen to a particular episode with no commercials. You can simply pay a micro payment of 25 cents for that episode and be able to consume in an on-demand environment without having to be a long-term subscriber. Although we of course support that as well. So the go-to-market strategy on Vodacast is very similar to what we're doing with Auddia. We're essentially creating a platform where the podcaster can make more money and the consumer can have a better experience. We believe this will allow the podcasters to get on air on their shows and basically tell their audience to go download the Vodacast app and listen. This promotion will drive people to the platform. The podcast consumer will have a better listening experience and be able to engage in more content. And this in turn will drive additional digital revenue to the podcasters to kind of reinforce this strategy. So podcasting is a huge market today. It's continuing to grow at a 27.5% CAGR. And we believe it's a really interesting opportunity and that we're coming in with a highly differentiated product. So there's been a lot of activity in the podcasting space. Another reason why we think it's attractive, you can see here all the different activities that have gone on. Spotify has really been driving this with their M&A activity. And now recently you've had SiriusXM and Amazon both jump into this with acquisitions within the last year. But again, none of these are providing any additional content or giving the podcaster a way to actually make more money. So where we are with the product readiness on Vodacast is we do have the app available in the app stores. The digital feed is not yet active on all platforms, but we're just starting to do that. We're starting to enter into our first podcast partnerships where they're getting on air, they're promoting the Vodacast platform, and we're looking to provide some of the results on how we're doing with that later this year, which will coincide with our national launch as we build some momentum. This is essentially the team. I'm not going to go into this right now, just to leave a little time for questions. We also have a fully independent board of directors. And this gives you a little information on our recent IPO. It was a unit transaction priced at $4 and 12.5 cents. And those were the unit and the share price were immediately separable at the IPO. So key takeaways, we're entering two very large industries, coming in with some industry firsts on the AM/FM radio side, personalizing content and allowing people to listen to stations for their first time with no commercials. And on the podcast side, bringing in this interactive digital feed that supports the deeper stories. So a highly differentiated listening experience with strong IP, addressing large markets, and getting ready to ramp up our revenue in the second half of this year, and then meaningfully expanding that in 2022. So that concludes the presentation. I'll open that up to any questions.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Who is your what does your target demo look like, and what is your total addressable market?
Yeah, well, the demographic really matches the demographic that listens to radio. And a lot of people don't know this, but radio still draws in, a huge audience. And when you look at time spent listening to audio platforms, it's about 46% of the time is actually spent on broadcast radio. To put that in perspective, the next closest is really all the internet streaming providers, which are running at about 15 to 18%. And you have SiriusXM running around 7-8%. So huge audience is still going to that local content on radio. And we think that's really our primary target market. And it's easy to reach them when you partner with the broadcast radio groups and they tell their fans, their listeners, that they have this premium opportunity.
In which regions is going to be your scope?
Are you talking about geographic regions?
Geographic regions.
Yeah, well, we're starting in the U.S. That's where we have a lot of broadcast partnerships and relationships already. We've been working with broadcasters in the U.S. since 2012 on another project where we had a digital interactive feed that correlated with their on-air audio to make the ads interactive and the content interactive. We had about 580 radio stations on that platform, all major groups. So we've had long relationships with them. So it's a natural area for us to start. But this carries over very nicely internationally, especially in the international markets where the music scene is very local and radio is really does a good job of harvesting that local content for the consumer.
And what's your short-term approach to the liability side of your financials?
Oh, I'm not sure what you're asking there.
So I think one of our viewers noticed that there was a line of credit on your balance sheet. Do you have an approach to paying off debt in the short term?
Yeah, so that's a residual line of credit that was at $6 million prior to the IPO. We paid it down to $2 million at the IPO. It's with a local bank at a very low interest rate. What we're looking to do for the rest of the year is really prove out product market fit across both of these products. And with that product market fit, we think that really opens up access to capital as being a NASDAQ traded company. And from that standpoint, once we have a good idea of what the trajectory of the growth is that we're going to be pushing with these subscriptions, that's when we'll be looking to kind of refinance that debt and also potentially position us for additional growth capital to drive the demand that we're hoping to see.
And finally, I think you made a wonderful case for the green grass that exists from radio listeners to come over to something that provides more interactive, more selection, and clear value benefits over radio itself. How do you have a strategy for takeaway from the current streaming services that people might already be used to?
We do. I mean, there's a lot of listening that correlates over from that. So, for instance, if you're an SXM listener, you tend to still listen to broadcast radio, or if you have Pandora or Spotify, you still tend to work in broadcast radio as well, because there's just no other place you can get the access to that local content, and people tend to go there. So we expect to be able to reach them there, and based on that Harris polling results that we got, we believe there's a fair amount of folks, and you can see it in those numbers. It was about 12% that were extremely likely to purchase this product that are looking for an opportunity to go back to get access to this local content, but they're only going to do it in a premium environment where they can avoid the ads and then be able to personalize the content a bit.
Fantastic. And to our audience of institutional and retail investors, what's the one thing that folks should remember as they look at you as an investment opportunity?
Yeah, I think the big thing to look at for us is the size of the markets that we're going after, and really bringing this first ever capability back to radio, where you have these huge audiences out there. And for the first time, people will be able to start consuming that content without commercials and in a personalized manner. So we think this is the most highly differentiated opportunity on the audio landscape to come around since really these music players started coming around, 5 to 10 years ago. So if we're able to show the results that we're hoping to show in these trials with our first broadcast partners, and we can really set the trajectory of how quickly these subscriptions are going to grow, that's really where we think the huge opportunity is for our investors.
Fantastic. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the time.
Our pleasure. Have a great weekend, sir.
Okay.
Guys, that was Jeff Trayman, cut off a little bit earlier than we'd like to. Sorry about that, Jeff. So guys, check out Auddia. The website's very easy to get to. It's just auddia.com, AUDDIA.com. I know I'm going to watch this very closely. Why? Because this is a product I would actually use. So this is something I would understand as an investment opportunity. So that's just me. So awesome having Jeff Trayman and Auddia here today.